I gotta do it to him. I'm sorry, Bill Nye. So you're telling me that you went to medical school and 3 inches of articles taught you something you didn't learn at medical school? So apparently, President Trump legalized marijuana, or did he?
And more, including numerous veterans with service-related injuries and older Americans who live with chronic medical problems that severely degrade their quality of life. And it's so really, I mean, just, I can't tell you, I think I probably have received more phone calls on this, on, on doing what we're doing. I don't think I received any calls on the other side of it, but hopefully this reclassification, which, by the way, polls at 82%, will help many of those patients live a far better life. We're joined today by Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's doing a fantastic job, Administrator of Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, the FDA Commissioner, Dr. Marty McCary, Director of the National Institutes of Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, and the Director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, Dr. Nora Valkow, as well as Dr. Ilana Braun from the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Duke University's Dr. David Casseret, the National Commander of the American Legion, Dan Wiley, and my friend Howard Kessler. Howard, how are you feeling? I'm telling you, he looks better than he did 20 years ago. But I don't want to go through what you went through to get there, right? But it looks like you're doing great. I'm proud of you. I want to emphasize that the order I am about to sign is not the legalization, or it doesn't legalize marijuana in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, there we have it,
sanctions
folks.
its use as a recreational drug. It has nothing to do with that. Just as the prescription painkillers may have legitimate uses, but can also do irreversible damage and never, if you look at some of the damage that can be caused, wreck lives, and if it's abused, it's never safe to use powerful controlled substances in recreational manners, and especially in this case, if you take a look, illegal and unregulated drugs, very, very bad thing. So I've always told my children, don't take drugs, no drinking, no smoking, and just stay away from drugs. I have been, they would look at me and they said, Dad, would you stop saying that? I would say it every time I looked at it practically. Young Americans are especially at risk, so unless a drug is recommended by a doctor for medical reasons, just don't do it. At the same time, the facts compel the federal government to recognize that marijuana can be legitimate in terms of medical applications when carefully administered. In some cases, this may include the use as a substitute for addictive and potentially lethal opioid painkillers, and they cause tremendous problems. This can do it in a much lesser way, can make people feel much better that are living through tremendous pain and problems.
So pretty much, it's not legalized weed. It's just medicalized. Allowing it to be studied, I guess, in a way, which I'm curious if he's going to get into that. But so far, from what I'm noticing, it's definitely not legalizing marijuana.
States and multiple U.S. territories have already recognized the use of medical marijuana. This reclassification order will make it far easier to conduct marijuana-related medical research, allowing us to study benefits, potential dangers, and future treatments. It's going to have a tremendously positive impact, I believe. We're also asking Congress to reconsider its classification of hemp-derived CBD to ensure seniors can access CBD products they have found beneficial for pain and other reasons. Some people are literally dying, and they're dying with tremendous pain, and this can, in many cases, literally stop it. And they have their senses about them, as opposed to painkillers, which don't allow that, don't allow them to die with dignity, frankly. I promise to be the president of common sense, and that is exactly what we're doing. This is really something having to do with common sense, and it's something having to do with the fact that so many people that I respect ask me to do. People that are having problems, big problems. They are having big problems with illness, with cancer in particular.
See, I think that right there, that statement is kind of leading on why a lot of people are kind of frustrated with him. Where he said, "Oh, a lot of people ask me, that's why I did it." So, sense, or are you doing this because of people ask you to, right? And when he says people ask him to, I would assume people he knows. I don't think he'd listen to people he doesn't know, but that might be my interpretation. And so that this is one of those situations where it's like, okay, yeah, is it great to have medical marijuana? Maybe. Probably. Is it a good idea to study it? For sure, definitely. But how does this change from it being something that what is legalized, right? Or how does this help? Or how does this hurt? Right? I think if anything, it's gonna hurt the industry because now you're gonna have pharmaceutical companies who have millions of billions of dollars. They can now pour into the research of this and they can create the most potent or the best strains. And they could even mess with it at a level where we might not understand right away that could still cause issues. So a bit conspiracy theorist there maybe, but at the same time, whenever anything is done for profit, the people buying it aren't usually considered as far as, hey, we need to treat them good. Hey, we need them to be good. Because a perfect example is look at pain medication. Oh, it works, but it also destroys your liver. It's addicting, and there's a lot of other things in there that cause more issues. So to me, this is kind of a little two-sided, where it's like, okay, hey, great, yeah, let's celebrate this, but at the same time, 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line, is this then gonna be something that we look back and like, holy shit, like we should never let the pharmaceutical company into the medical marijuana industry?
I now want to ask Dr. Oz to say a few words, followed by Dr. Braun, Dr. Casseret, Dan Wiley, and Dr. Valcow, and we'll sign the order as soon as they're complete, and we'll take some questions. Please, go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you for always bravely pushing for common sense change, as you call it. So
Dr.
President
Oz.
Trump, Secretary Kennedy have been pushing for change. They're passionate in their desire to help the American people, and they have relentlessly pursued this agenda throughout this administration. This also includes a deep passion for research, gold standard research, as Secretary Kennedy also says. But there's another side to the president that often isn't reflected in
What side is
media
that? Tell
reports,
us.
and that's the deep passion he has for the people in his life. And he has called me frequently about the people who are calling him, as he alluded to, who are saying that they've got problems and they got relief from some of the solutions we're talking about today. Howard Kessler, who's standing behind me here, who's a mutual friend of ours, was an early caller of the president. Many others have ever reached out as well. And Howard's been a passionate advocate for avoiding narcotics, especially in seniors, and particularly seniors suffering from cancer. And that's a population that is a very important one. And it's a sympathetic population that's desirous of trying new ways besides some of the conventional approaches that have been tested by pharmaceutical companies but have untoward side effects. At the beginning of the year, one of the first things the president told me, he doesn't actually tell you, he demanded from me, that my agency, CMS...
Nobody demands from him. No. Nobody. You have to know him.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Used all tools at his wherewithal to find a better way to help seniors. A passion for a population that has gotten left behind with these discussions. I promised that we would find an answer, even though it had not been done before. And today we are delivering on that promise. Today, our Innovation Center at CMS is announcing a new model and additional actions to give seniors access to cannabinoids. These are CBDs. They're non-addictive, which many are already using to manage pain.
So no
There's
THC.
some clinical evidence that's showing that
Just
CBDs
CBD.
provide relief from common conditions that affect Americans, including cancer symptoms and chronic pain and a slew of other problems that affect disproportionately seniors and our veterans. And 6 in 10 people who use the CBDs report that they improve their pain. I think all of those people are calling the president, judged on the number of calls in support of what we're doing today. And sometimes these decisions are difficult, and there's a reason this hasn't happened before. And there's a reason, Mr. President, that every president before you has whiffed on this issue. It's tough. And I know there's going to be a lot of discussion about it. That's why we're so passionate about making it clear that this patchwork that we're working within now, the laws and regulations, they're leaving patients and doctors without adequate guidance on the safeguards of how to use these products, even though they're still being used. At Medicare, we cover 68 million Americans, including people under the age of 65. And they did not have a way of providing these treatments until today. With the president's insistence, that's all changes. The innovation center models are going to allow millions of Americans on Medicare to become eligible to receive CBD as early as April of next year.
Maybe here I'm putting on my Candace Owens conspiracy theory hat. I don't know. You guys tell me. But when I hear Medicaid is now allowing senior citizens to use it in order to purchase medical marijuana, all I hear is another way to dip into Medicaid, right? Because if you look at medical marijuana, it's become a very big industry. It's become an industry that people are becoming millionaires, especially if you're a founder of a facility. You're becoming fairly rich, you know? So now you're giving access to a lot of these private corporations the ability to say, hey, we're going to build Medicaid now. So it now opens it up to a whole slew of, well, I should say it opens it up to a brand new base of customers. So if you think they had a lot of customers before with medical marijuana, even with legalizing it, right? Now they're going to have even more customers because now you have technically the federal government who has the ability to purchase or to be used in order to purchase these medicines for senior citizens who want to use the effects of marijuana. A lot of dispensaries were unable to bank because they're using, or excuse me, because they're selling marijuana, right? Federal guidelines is still a Schedule 1 narcotic. So now with the reclassification, what it does is it should allow you to now bank. So now the industry, I think, is really going to explode. You're going to have a lot of innovation. It might not be for the better, but you will have a lot of innovation.
And at no charge, if their doctors recommend them. Thanks to the hard work of the entire CMS team, especially Abe Sutton and Gita Dio
what stops anybody from just saying they have the things that, you know, that you have, like, you know, I could just walk into I can just walk into my doctor's office and be like, I have glaucoma, I need you to prescribe me medical marijuana. You know, like what stops that? And this is, again, this is where I think this whole you can't do this is nonsense. Like if we compare alcohol to marijuana, it's just like, come on, it's not even a comparison. Alcohol not only kills, you know, people, it destroys lives, it causes a lot, you know, but it also is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So you got to think about it from, you know, the money perspective. It's, you know, the statement is follow the money for a reason.
Innovation Center, the accountable care organizations in this country working in Medicare will be able to provide these products, again, at no cost to patients. Medicare Advantage insurers, and we've been calling them, are also agreeing to consider CBD to be used for the 34 million Americans that they cover. If you can hear my voice and you're over 65, you should pay attention to this executive order because it's going to touch your life. Again, this all becomes active after the first quarter of next year. These CBD products must first meet local and state quality and safety standards. They must come from legitimate sources. And they must abide by other regulations of those states.
Yeah, all regulations that are going to be made by who? The federal government. They have to be legitimate sources. What is legitimate? I can grow weed in one of the rooms in my house. Is that legitimate? You know, I understand the pH balance of the water. I understand the soil, the composure of the soil. I understand the vitamins that need to go into it. I understand the type of bud I'm growing. Does that make me legitimate? Or is there going to be a strict, only these kind of people can get into this industry, right? I think this is a double-edged sword. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little negative. I don't know. Maybe I'm. Tell me what you guys think.
With these boxes checked, patients can be eligible for up to $500 of hemp-derived products each year. This is the first government-led testing of quality and outcomes for patients across different conditions, and it delivers on the need for more data collection and research into hemp usage. CMS is going to collect data, that's our job, on the patients that are being given these products by their physicians. And in accordance with all the privacy and security regulations, we're going to analyze that data. We're going to make it publicly available to everybody to be able to analyze with us. If it shows promise, we will expand access to these products to even more conditions amongst Medicare and Medicaid beneficiaries. I want to thank not just the Secretary, but Marty McCary. We want a lot of companies who are doing this research that approach the FDA for formal approval. That is the right way to move forward. And Jay Bhattacharya, who's hiding in the back, he rarely hides, but Jay runs NIH, and he's agreed to support initiatives to study the data that we're collecting. Howard Kester, God bless you for being a pain in our sides. Mr. President, he's promised to stop calling you, but on this issue, he'll call you on other issues. And I thank you again from the bottom of my heart for taking a difficult stance.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Mr. President, members of the Cabinet, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and for your leadership in rescheduling cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. This decision will accelerate scientific research and expand what can responsibly be studied. I'm a cancer psychiatrist and medical cannabis researcher at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. Over the past decade, federal investment in research has helped transform cancer care. People are living longer than ever before.
Hey, what do I know, right?
But cancer care is not only about treating the tumor. It's also about addressing the anxiety, the fear, the stress that can come with a diagnosis, symptoms that can interfere with treatment and make recovery much more difficult. Many medications we use for acute anxiety carry significant risks, particularly in the older adults. That's why we're studying specific natural compounds found in cannabis, including the non-addictive cannabidiol, to understand whether they can safely and effectively help manage anxiety during cancer treatment. Rescheduling.
See, I don't think that weed is addictive. Like, I smoked weed for like 14, 15 years, and then I stopped cold turkey. I just stopped one day. I was like, that's it. You know what? I don't want to smoke anymore. I have better things I can do with my money, and I want to be more focused. And I stopped, and now it's been over a year since I smoked. But I understand that people struggle with that. I just don't think that that's a product problem. You have people who can do that, you know, and then there are people who have more of an addictive personality that can't stop once they start something. So I think that that's one misconception. But I'm curious to see what if there are any questions and what the doctors say to these questions.
Allows us to ask these questions rigorously about dosing, about safety, and who may benefit most. This research reflects the best of federal investment, helping people not only live longer, but live better. Thank you, Mr. President, for supporting careful, science-based research that puts patients first.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. That's beautiful. Thank you.
She's beautiful.
Thanks, Mr. President.
He's yo, my boy can't hold himself. I think he said it's beautiful, but it sounded like he called her beautiful. But whatever, that shit don't bother me. I could care less. This is funny.
I never really thought this day would come.
Who's this?
I met a patient about 20 years ago.
He looks like Bill Nye, science guy.
A retired professor named Elizabeth, who came to my clinic. She was dying of pancreatic cancer, and she asked me then whether cannabis might help her. And I said no, because that's what I learned in medical school. She reached into her briefcase, took out a 3-inch tall stack of articles, put them down on my desk, and said, "Really, doctor? You should read these. You might learn something." And I did read those articles, every single one, and found a bunch more. And I did learn something. I learned that there actually is some medical benefit to cannabis that
I gotta do it to him. I'm sorry, Bill Nye. So you're telling me that you went to medical school and 3 inches of articles taught you something you didn't learn at medical school? So is medical school the problem? Or if you have something that's built and the way it was built was not in the best interest to those who use it, right? And it was built in order to keep power. Do you think that that system will then work against itself to limit its power? Or do you think the system is going to work towards giving itself more power? I think we all can come to the conclusion that the system is never going to check itself. It's only going to figure out other ways to get around accountability, essentially. I don't know. This feels a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but him saying that it's just like, come on, bro.
not anticipated, never heard about in medical school. Second, I learned that there was a lot we don't know. And third, I learned it's really, really, really difficult to do high-quality randomized controlled trials of a substance that's federally illegal. This rescheduling has the potential to change all of that and to rewrite the way that we do research related to cannabis in the United States.
Potential, or does it change it?
It'll democratize the research process so that all academic institutions can participate in research, not just elite academic medical centers. Number two, it'll give patients and researchers access to highly refined, reliable sources of cannabis rather than relying on one or two sources around the country. And last but not least, it'll let us do the sorts of large-scale randomized controlled trials that we do in oncology and cardiology, not dozens of patients, but hundreds or thousands of patients. That's how we learn, that's how we produce valuable knowledge that's useful in guiding treatment decisions. Mr. President, without you, this never would have been possible, and my patients and I and all of our families are grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, very much. Thank you very much.
So we skip forward a little bit. Let's see what happens when we get to the Q&A.
That's a good one. We rate that.
Remember, this is also only an executive order, so the next president can come in and just remove this executive order, and we're back to square one.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Any questions, please?
Mr. President,
Yes.
a health-related question on your health care plan. You've said you want to make direct payments to Americans, but these Obamacare subsidies are expiring now in a matter of just a few days. More than 20 million Americans are now bracing for their premiums to skyrocket. Are you going to
Because
let
of
this
Obama.
happen, or
Yeah,
will you
because-
intervene?
Yeah, they will skyrocket because it was never any good. I'd like to see the money that is going to the insurance companies by the hundreds of billions of dollars.
You can't help
You know, their
himself.
stocks are up 1,400%, 1,800%, and 1,624%. Their stocks are up through the roof over a fairly short period of time because they're getting vast amounts of money. I want that money to go to the people directly and let the people buy their own health care. And they'll get much better health care than they get with the Unaffordable Care Act, as it's known by a lot of people. It is virtually unaffordable for people. It's a bad thing. We can have a great thing. Let the money go directly to the people and let them buy their own health care.
But this is an urgent problem, Mr. President. Is there anything you can do now, Mr. President?
Can I answer, Mr.
This
President?
is going to be right now, as far as I'm concerned. Go ahead.
We just got data today. We have federal exchanges where people come shopping for the ACA. And the president hasn't heard this yet, but we've talked to the team. The percentage change from last year was down 2.7 to 2.8%. Not the massive numbers that have been predicted. And there's many possible reasons for this, but right now Americans are signing up for these programs despite all the things that have been going on. 2.8% is a tiny fraction of what many had claimed would happen, and I think it speaks to the fact the American people appreciate these ACA plans are already subsidized over 80%. So it's a good deal, even if you don't get the extra 15, 20%.
It's a great solution to much better health care at a much lower cost. Yeah, please.
But do you want Congress to extend these ACA subsidies?
Well, I'd like not to be able to do it. I'd like to get right into this, and I'd ask Oz this question in particular, but I'd like to see us get right into this. I don't know why we have to extend. This could be done rapidly if the Democrats would come along. We have a problem. The insurance companies own the Democrat Party. They own it. And
Man,
the
they're technically- they
Democrats
own the
have a hard
Republicans,
time.
too.
They give a lot of money
The insurance companies own our political system. Like that's one place I definitely disagree with him. It's not just one-sided.
to the Democrats. Very little money to Republicans, by the way. A lot of money to Democrats. And they're going to have to decide, do they want to do the right thing or do they want to be beholden to the, insurance companies? They're making a fortune. I want the money to go to the people. Go ahead, Oz. How would you say that?
I agree with the president. We have some ideas out there. Congress is working through some concepts. But I just want to emphasize that the ACAs are not imploding based on the data we just received from the federal marketplace.
This can go very quickly, actually. Yes, please.
Mr. President, can I ask you, clarify something for me on the Federal Reserve? How many people are you interviewing for the Fed chairman, and what did you think of Chris Waller?
I think he's great. I mean, he's been a man
That has
who's
nothing to
been
do
there a
with
long
this.
time, somebody that I was very involved with in the sense of his career, and he's a fantastic man. I met him yesterday. Again,
So how many people are you looking at?
we're talking to 3 or 4. I think every one of them would be a good choice, honestly.
So Michelle Bowman?
We'll be making a decision pretty
Is
quick.
Michelle Bowman on that list too? Are you going to interview her?
She's fantastic. She's a fantastic person.
Thank you, Mr. President. Some GOP lawmakers have written to you in recent days saying they're concerned this executive order could normalize drug use for youth. How would you respond to them?
You're talking about this particular today? Well, I think I'd let one of the doctors respond to it because they can do it a lot better than me. But I can only tell you that when you see polls of 82% of the people want this, when I have friends that are really, really sick and they've gone through I guess you could say, unfortunately, I don't want to become too involved in it because I don't want it happening. But these are people that really know what's going on. Very smart people. This is one of the most successful people in the country and a very brilliant guy. And when they go through this horrible ordeal of cancer or other things, and they realize
Come on, get to the point of the
that
question.
makes them feel better without all of the side effects of some of the drugs where you're just totally knocked out and out of it. But I'd like to have one of the doctors maybe respond because you people do it better than anybody.
I'm happy to respond.
Yes.
I mean, and my answer is we have had cannabis scheduled for how long? And it hasn't protected neither the adolescents nor the adults. We have 20 million people in the United States with a cannabis use disorder. This
Haymaker.
is not legalizing it. It's making
too
easier
bad.
to do research so that we can use it when it is indicated and optimally.
Yeah.
So it's also a big part of this is research.
Yeah, see, she came out swinging, and she makes a very good point. Creating laws to not do something doesn't inherently prevent people from doing it. It just it just puts it into you would call the black market. And I think that's one of the big problems. I'm a very, very big supporter of just legalizing it all. If you want to ruin your life, go right ahead. Obviously, give people the information that they need in order to understand what they might be doing to themselves. But if they want to ruin their life, you let them, and then put them in a place where it's like, hey, y'all want to do this, you do that shit over there, and that's it. And it might cause some other issues, but at the same time, it will remove a lot of the problems that we have in society, a lot of the hiding as well. But that could also lead to a few other things that I could hear people saying now, like, oh well, now you're gonna create legal black markets, open air markets for selling illicit drugs. Like, no, you don't have to, because if you educate a society, right, you educate a population, there are going to be inherently people who are going to make stupid decisions. You let those people make stupid decisions, and that serves as an example to everyone else why not to do something, versus what's going on now, which is, no, you can't do that. We're going to jail you. We're going to put you in prison. We're going to do this. We're going to ruin your life for even having a substance. I think you should decriminalize all that shit. That's not, who are we to tell people they can or can't do something? If you want to limit the exposure that a person has, and you don't want to have a population that's on a certain amount of drugs, I understand that. And yeah, we should have some things in place, but those things in place should not infringe on your ability to choose whether you want to do something or not. And I think the only reason we have this law system where it penalizes you heavily for use of certain things, right, specifically drugs, is because there is a profitability aspect to it, right? You have private prisons, you have police officers that get jobs, you have enforcement agencies that are created to stop this quote unquote importation of illicit substances.
In other words, you'll now have a much larger sample, and you'll be able to see if it's as good as many people say it is. I mean, people say it is beyond good, and you'll be able to find that out now.
On housing, you talked in your address last night about housing.
Yeah.
Are you still considering a national emergency over housing?
I'm looking at it.
What would that look like? What would that mobilize?
I have there's two thoughts on housing. You have a lot of people have housing that, because we have such a strong time and such a strong market, their houses are very valuable. It's a big part of their net worth, their house. I don't want to knock those numbers down, because I want them to continue to have a big value for the house.
Of course you do.
At the same time, I want to make it possible for young people out there and other people.
Even on that, I don't even want to get into the housing thing, because that to me, that answer is bullshit, but it is what it is.